really need to tell you anything else. That's my life in a nutshell. I'm really, really thankful that you all have had me here today to speak. Like Brandon said, my name is Lindsay Drakulic. She said my name right. It is actually Drakulic. That is how it's pronounced, Dracula with an itch. Wasn't the name I was born with, but it's pretty cool. I get a great reaction from it. I am a mom of 3. I'm a 20-year fitness veteran, and I'm also an entrepreneur. It's still weird for me to say those words. I'm an entrepreneur, but I really am an entrepreneur by heart. And I actually don't even like putting labels on myself. I'm just making it happen every single day. I'm a woman out there trying to do what we do all the time. And part of my story is testimonials, success story, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to move around if that's okay. I don't mind the podium, but I'm a bit of a wanderer. I'll try not to be too distracting. It'll squawk at me if I do this. Okay, so I'll try to stay over here. But I try to steer too much away from success stories. I believe that there's more to a success story than the successes. There's the ugly stuff that goes along with it, and I'm not here to bring you down for the day or talk about dark things, but I am going to go into both sides of the success story, which is sometimes the ugly. And actually something happened to me just on Wednesday night that was a perfect example of the reason why I don't like to drown people in my successes and how wonderful I am, because women have something that men, I don't think most men were born with. Women are born with it, men aren't. It's the compare button in our brain. And it's kind of like you can compare it to the little scanner thing at Walmart. We compare ourselves to each other more than most men do, and in a different way than we do. So for me to stand up here and talk about how wonderful my success is and how I did this and I did that, I don't want anybody in the room to be going, yeah, but I'm not as outgoing as her, and I don't have that, and she's got this and I don't, and this and that. So we're going to unplug the compare button, and I'm going to tell you some of the things behind the scenes that went on during my journey so that you don't want to compare to me, trust me, believe me. But it happens all the time. And the other night when I was getting ready to go to, I just moved out of state a week ago. I just flew back last night. I lived here, like Brandon said, since 1999. I moved to South Carolina a week and a half ago. So I'm like completely all over the place. My daughter is a freshman starting high school. Her orientation was on Wednesday night. I have a 14-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So I'm trying to get everything ready for her freshman orientation. She is a ball of nerves, and curling her hair is the only important thing that's happening on the planet at that moment, as you know. And my 1-year-old decides, because that's the only time he ever needs me to pick him up, is when I'm getting ready to do something. Dinner is literally burning in the oven. Literally burning. I'm the only woman in the world that can burn Walmart frozen garlic bread. Thank you. You're welcome. I can smell it, and at this point I don't even care. We're going to be late. She's having a meltdown because he's not home yet, and we have to watch the... So I said to my 11-year-old son, who I normally don't do this because he's just a character in and of himself, I said, take your brother in your room for a few minutes. Watch him while I finish putting my makeup on. Please, I can't finish doing this. So he's like, sure, Mom. Scoops up the baby. Within 30 seconds, I hear the blood-curdling, silent baby cry, the one that you know is big. It's not like somebody took my toy, it's my arm fell off. And I thought, baby gate is closed, so he didn't fall down the stairs, anything else is going to be fine. They run him in the room. My 14-year-old left the bathroom door open with her curling iron on. The 11-year-old wasn't watching. He's okay. Look at all the moms in the room like, I don't want to hear this story. Please don't finish. He's okay. A little burn on the top of his hand. But you know when a baby gets hurt, it sounds like they're dying. And so I start yelling at the 14-year-old for leaving the bathroom door and the curling iron on. I start yelling at the 11-year-old for not watching his brother. The baby's yelling at me, and it's insane. We're late for the orientation. He walks through the door. Dad comes through the door. I'm like, we gotta go. We're late. Your dinner's burnt. Your baby's burnt. See you later. We gotta go. And he was standing there, and the baby's still crying. I'm like, oh, I gotta go. So I'm driving to the high school, and I am the worst person in the world. I'm the worst mother in the world. I've been screaming. It's not an 11-year-old's job to watch a 1-year-old. And of course, a 14-year-old's gonna leave the door open. And how on earth am I a stay-at-home mom who burns the baby? So I get to the orientation in the high school, we sit in the auditorium, and who's the first woman to come out on stage? Is the president of the PTA. If you're here, raise your hand. Are you any president? Well, I would probably recognize you because I have the worst to compare myself. You have your worst mommy moment, and then the president of the PTA walks across stage. She looks beautiful. Her kids look like they just stepped out of an Abercrombie catalog. Her husband's probably at home eating like the best pot roast in the whole wide world, and here I am like, burnt baby, I've destroyed my other kids' self-esteem, I'm the worst mom in the whole wide world. And I thought to myself, I caught myself, there's my compare button going off, beep, 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 beep. I'm comparing everything that I just screwed up to everything that she's doing right. And it was a really glimpse and an unusual bad moment in my house that I'm comparing that horrible thing to. That's your phone, Brandon, I think. It's Terry. You want me to get it?
Timing.
Terry, you can't talk right now.
I'm not going to take it.
So anyway, I'm comparing an uncharacteristically horrible moment in my home to her finest moment. And that's what we do. You see a woman walking down the street and she's all put together, beautiful shoes, beautiful dress, and you're sitting there in your yoga pants and there's baby vomit on your shoulder and you're like, God, I'm a failure in life. But really, you don't know what she did that morning. You don't know if she just wiped the baby puke off in the car before she got out, because we've all done it, you know. So I don't want this to be about how great everything I've done is and how wonderful it is. There'll be some real moments, and I know I will keep to time because you all have to be places, you all have lives. But I like to preface my story by saying that. Like Brandon said, I had some success back in the late 2000s. I started my fitness career in college, but when I moved to Florida, it was on pause for a couple years while I had kids, and then I grew it around 2006 when this whole Roomba thing came into fashion. I got certified in Zumba in 2006 when nobody knew what it was. I got my door slammed in my face at Lifestyle, Family Fitness, Gold's Gym, YMCA. Everybody said no, so I kept going back and kept going back, and they finally started saying yes, and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew, and I became like a dinosaur of the Zumba fitness world, and I felt great. And actually, I call myself, this isn't a label I gave myself, somebody at an event recently told me this. They're like, you're like the Kevin Bacon of Zumba. Every class and every instructor can be traced back to you. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's a compliment or if I'm just really old and I need to stop doing this. But anyway, in 2008, I opened my own studio. I was riding high. I was at the peak of my career. It was great. Everything was going well. I was open for about a year and a half, and divorce hit. And recession hit, because there's no such thing as a recession-proof traditional business as far as a dance and fitness studio. And of course, a divorce at the same time. So I lost everything, absolutely everything in 2010. And I had to go find a real job. And as a single mom with no child support coming in, I walked away from my studio. I couldn't even afford to pay the last month's rent. I still had, a fairly decent following with my students, but it wasn't enough to keep us alive, not by myself. So I got a job in a bar. Anybody ever worked in the hospitality industry before? This is how you did that. That is how you feel if you've worked in the hospitality industry before. I had never done this before. I thought, this would be great. I was the manager, okay? So that means that I'm something special in the bar industry. And I thought, this is what I have to do. It's what we're taught to do. It's what we're trained to do. Go find a paycheck, get benefits, eat crap, feed the kids. That's what we're taught to do, right? So I did. My shifts were from 4 o'clock in the afternoon until sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I didn't see them a lot. I couldn't afford babysitters, so I had the grace of wonderful friends watching them. Occasionally I had babysitters, but it's not the ideal job for a mom with 2 small kids. And it's not the ideal environment, in my opinion, because this is just about me and my story, in my opinion, for anyone as far as that particular place that I was at. I ran into a lot of unsavory incidents, unsavory people. It was a have to type of thing, not a want to type of thing. It was a have to type of thing. And I was there about 6 months, late 2010, early 2011. And I thought, well, I got a job now, and I'm making some money, and I paid my rent, and or my mortgage, and I feel good about it. And a man came in, and I thought, well, this is interesting. There's actually a decent, normal man coming into this bar, and he was attractive and good-looking guy, and seemed to have it together. And he introduced himself, and all the girls that worked for me were like, oh my gosh, that guy's so cute. And I was like, I don't know what he's doing here. So he introduces himself, and he's a firefighter, EMT, paramedic. I mean, we're talking the package. And he asked one of my servers for my phone number. And I just thought, well, that's interesting. So I gave it to him. And we start texting and calling back and forth, the whole thing. I did the whole Google thing. I'm showing my girlfriends, like, seems like legit, maybe this is a bright spot in my dark life right now. Maybe I could start seeing someone. I've been divorced for a while, So he asked me out on a date. And I said yes. And we agreed to have dinner out where he lived, in Deltona. I said, okay. And I was still kind of on the fence about it. I'm like, you got to go to your girlfriends. Got to go to your girlfriends and get the real deal. And we did the whole Googling thing. We checked him out for sure. And he called me about an hour before the date. He said, I'm going to change our plans a little bit if it's okay with you. Would you mind coming to my house? And I'm going to cook, and we're going to do movies and set a meet out. And I went, Anybody have the voice? Anybody listen to it? Put your hand down because you don't. Put your hand down because you don't listen to it. We have the voice always, and we don't listen to it. We never listen to it. The voice, even when you're at a red light and you think it's all clear, but you kind of go, don't go yet. And then bam, you get hit. Even though you swear you didn't see anything, that's it. And the voice said, I don't know, Lindsay. But again, consulted my girls. He's a firefighter. Oh my gosh, he's a paramedic. Great. Oh, yeah, okay, all right. Lindsay, you're being paranoid. Do it. So I went, showed him at his doorstep, and he let me in. And he did not let me out for a very long time. Not until he had done some very horrible things that you wouldn't think a firefighter, EMT, paramedic would do. And as a single mom, working in a bar, barely keeping myself afloat, when I finally did get out, I told my two best friends, and they did immediately what two best friends do. There's two types of friends, okay? You have the good friends that show up with the wine and the chocolate, and you have the best friends that show up with the tarp and the shovel. And these were my two girls. They did what best friends will do. They say, we know you don't want to tell anybody, because I thought, this is it. I'm that girl. I'm the single mom with the two kids working in a bar that's going to say that this perfect human being did something horrible to me. No one's going to buy it. That was it. They stripped me down, took pictures. My one friend said, you don't have to tell the cops, but you're telling your doctor. You're going to your doctor. Great. So I did. Went to the doctor, made a conscious effort. And I don't know if you've ever made a conscious effort to have a downward spiral. Have you ever done that? Where you literally said, I don't care. This is going to a place where it never happened. I'll never think about it again. I'll forget his face. I'll forget his name. I'll forget his voice. Everything. And I made a conscious effort to spiral down. And I did good. I was working in a bar. If you're ready to have a downward spiral, there is no better place to be than employed at a bar. Yes? If you're ready to throw away what you have and to just go all out, go work in a bar. Because it's there. And the demons are ready to take you and give you a big old hug. And I did. And I said, this is it. And I actually did forget. And I convinced myself for a good long time that it never happened. That's what I did. And I know it might not have been the best way to handle it, but that's how I handled it. And that went on for about 1.5 years. And it got bad. It got really, really bad. My story involves a lot of things that some stay-at-home moms probably don't want to hear about. Again, it's not just about my highlight reel. It's not just about my finest hour. There's a lot of things that led up to it. And I let myself get down to the very bottom. And on June 23rd, 2012, I said, I'm not a big religious person. I'm a God person. I do believe in God. And I have no business quoting scripture. I'm not, versed in all that kind of stuff. But I got on my knees. And I thought, this is ridiculous, but I'm doing it. I said, God, I cannot do this anymore. I'm a fitness person. I'm a role model. People see me out there as Lindsay, the girl that started all the Zumba, and she did this and she did that. And I was hiding this horrible loser behind closed doors, what I thought was a big loser. I'm barely feeding my kids. I work in a bar drinking. And now I got this victim title stamped on my head, because you can forget about it, but your subconscious will never forget about it. So I said, you know what? I got to stop this. At the very least, I'm going to stop the drinking. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to clean myself up. So I did. And I went to work at the bar, and I lasted the weekend. I was like, this is great, but I can't work in a bar if I'm going to live my clean, healthy, fitness model life again. I can't do that. This is just too much. You can't. It doesn't work. It's the devil and the angel on the shoulder, right? So a week went by, and I said again, I got on my knees. I said, God, I can't quit this bar, because what kind of responsible single mother lets go of the only income that she's got and the benefits? I would be even in a worse spot. I'd lose everything. That would be foolish. I can't do that. You've got to show me what to do. But I also can't be clean, healthy, and sober and live and work in this place. So what do you got for me? And that was Monday morning, July 1st, 2012. And I did that. I got on my knees, and I was like, well, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Didn't feel the earth move. So I got in my PT Cruiser, which I nicknamed the PT Loser, because I just felt like a loser. I even called my car a loser at the time. And I drove to work, that bar, and I got there, and the gates were locked. The security guard met me at my car and said, Lindsay, I'm sorry, we're closed, we're out of business. And I said, what? And he said, don't yell at me, everybody's furious, we don't know what happened. He came in last night, he locked the whole thing up, he didn't tell anybody, nobody knew about it. There was other managers, one of the other managers was his daughter, and she had no idea. And I said, I know. And he goes, why? I said, oh, you wouldn't understand. And then I just drove off. And I have no business quoting scripture, but the one phrase that looped in my head over and over as I'm driving was, God will do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where I learned it. I'm not, again, versed in the Bible. But God will do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. And from that day on, I said, I have got to trust and have faith. So that was all fine and good, and that's the feel-good moment. And then 10 minutes later, I go, well, hell, I'm unemployed. I'll go on unemployment, which is a fancy word for welfare. And it's enough to feed half of one of my kids, but the other 1.5 get hungry from time to time, and so do I. So within a month, like Brandon said, I'd lost my car. It was not even close to enough money to keep me going. My parents were paying my mortgage. Again, I wasn't receiving child support at this time. I was down, real down. And I saw a friend of mine on Facebook who'd been working this skinny wrap home business. Have you seen those little skinny wraps? Do they work? Okay, just kidding. I'm kidding. And she was doing really well. And as a fitness professional, I said, she is ruining us. You cannot do that. That's a stupid gimmick, whatever. I gave it the whole business. But I called her. And I said, I just got to know if it works. I was not remotely interested in selling it. I had nothing better to do. So I went, and she wrapped me. I loved it. I thought it was great. Results were awesome. My clients were loving it. They were the ones that were pushing me to get involved. So I got involved. I immediately regretted it. I said, what did I do? I just spent $99 to start up this home business. And I had to get rid of my iPhone to do it because I had $99. So now I got no phone. And a business that I don't have the slightest clue how to run. I had no idea what to do with it. But I listened because I learned to have faith in God, and I learned that He will do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. And I didn't know what I was doing. And my friend who started was fairly new at it too, and she even said, I don't know what I'm doing either, but money's coming in hand over fist. I said, okay. So within 3 months, I was matching the income at the bar. Within 6 months, I doubled it. Within a year, I had almost quadrupled it. And I haven't, and I know that I might be one of those rare people, but I haven't worked a real job since I started that business. So $99 bought me a new life. I say that all the time. And now I get to be mom. Things are cooking. I'm making money. I've been in the business about 7 months, and then I meet another man. I'm like, oh, great, here we go. But he turned out to be really cool and really nice. Yay, happy ending. And I got pregnant. So we are a very happy family. We love each other. Things were smooth. Things were cooking. Business was on fire. I'm expecting a baby with an amazing man. My kids are well established. It's great. And watching the news in January of 2013. And there's the firefighter. There's the firefighter. And again, I said, God, I don't know what to do. I thought it was, I had forgotten. When I saw his face, I'm like, wow, I had forgotten what he looked like. And so I went to my man who was, a great guy, and I said, this is what happened to me. And he said, you gotta talk to someone, you gotta go forward. And I did. And at that point, he was on the news for one woman who had come forward. I contacted the detectives in Deltona the next day, and by the end of the week, 18 women had come forward. This man had been a serial rapist for the better part of 15 years, since his senior year in high school. The MO was exactly the same. Exactly the same. We could have rewritten our stories with the same name in it. And so I went forward, and the detective said, please tell me you have something more than just a story that matches everybody else's. I said, well, I got pictures. Remember the shovel and the tarp girls? Yeah. She saved the camera, and I said, and I went to the doctors, and I reported it, and he was like, God sent. Yeah. Out of those 18 women, mine was one of 3 that was prosecutable. The other ones were not prosecutable, not enough physical evidence. And thankfully, because of the pictures and the doctor's report and how much time had gone by, me and 3 girls got convictions on all 3 of our counts. And he is now inmate number 1230. Can't say it out loud, but I do know the inmate number because I check every day to make sure he's still there in the state penitentiary. And I tell you what, that is also God's timing, because I could not have done that 2 years ago. I could not have told a soul. I would not have been interested. And I beat myself up a lot saying, you know what, maybe I should have, because I could have protected other women. But you know what, that's not what this story is about. This story is about how things unfold and how you have to get to your place where you're ready to accept the kind of success that is laid out for you. Because make no mistake about it, it's laid out for you. It's laid out for you. No matter how bad things are in your life or your friend's life or somebody you might know is going through something, there are things preordained and laid out. God did not put us on this earth to be down and out, to struggle, to be sad, to be depressed. That's, if we are his children, as most believe, if you're a Christian you believe that, why would you want your children to be suffering? And the other part of it, too, in my story, and I tell this to people all the time, and it almost sounds like I have career ADHD, and I'm always this, and I'm that, and I'm over here doing this and doing that, and then I'm down and out, I'm at a bar, I'm dancing, I'm rapping, it's like whatever. But what it is you cannot be afraid to be something different if that's the path that you're going down. So we've been preordained from our parents and from our traditions to say, you know what, you go to college, you get your degree, and that's what you do the rest of your life. You're a nurse, darn it. Go to nursing school and be a nurse. Well, what happens when you get laid off of that nursing job? Then you're going and looking for another nursing job, right? Because that's what I am. I am a nurse. I don't know any nurses in the room, just using that as an example. But what about to say, you know what? There's a really cool opportunity over there. It's got nothing to do with nursing. Maybe I should take it. Always look for opportunities. Always look for the next thing. If I had said no to this crazy skinny wrap thing 3 years ago, I probably would have lost my home. I probably would have ended up in another bar. Because you know what, for some of us, that's the only choice. This is not rocket science to start something like this and get going. You need motivation, you need drive, you need desperation, but you also need belief in yourself. You need belief in yourself, and you need permission to say, I'm going to do something that might not be popular with the people in my life. It might not be popular with my parents and my kids and my in-laws and my ex and all those other things, but this is what I want to do. And it might take me somewhere else, because if you truly believe that your path is laid out for you, then you have to go down it, because the path is there. It's not there for you to turn around and walk away from it. It's there for you to go down and take it. And the paths that I've taken in my life, I've gone down many dark ones with the little wolf hanging around by the tree and jumping out, but I've also gone down some really bright ones, and I think that they intertwine. And there's no such thing as success without failure. They're not opposing each other. You go down, you go up. You go down, you go up. You go down, you go up. It's whether or not you choose to go back up again. And I think for me, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 5 years. I know that it works. It's going to be financing it, whatever it is. And that's the cool thing, too, is you can use one to bounce off the other. You can start something just to finance something else. And I love that. I love that we don't have to be one thing, and we don't have to stay in one spot. And we certainly don't have to be defeated if we've had any type of dark days in our lives. So I hope that whatever I've said today could help anybody who's maybe choosing something new or struggling with something at home, or maybe you've been through some crappy times and you're just sitting there going, thank God somebody's life sucked worse than mine did. Whatever it is that I can help you with, I really appreciate that you've given me this time to be here today, and I thank you so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I'm going to let you get to it.